horse racing is often referred to as the sport of kings because to really be, one thing would really help a lot would be to be rich. Just so in the interest of full disclosure, I was never rich. I'm not rich. I'd probably be better off if I hadn't owned so many horses through the years. I was born in a one-room house with 18-year-old parents. My father had just got sent to Italy in World War I, and I was delivered by a midwife. So needless to say, I was not born rich. But I had two uncles who were great horse trainers. One of them ended up succumbing to alcohol and ended up sort of shortchanging his career, and the other one went on to be one of the greatest horse trainers of all time. Won 2 derbies. He won the Belmont 5 straight years in the 1980s and is in the Racing Hall of Fame. So it aroused in me a sort of a general interest in horse racing when I was a kid. What's the Woody Allen line? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I will tell you there are very few plans in my life that have ever worked out. I just never have. But during my senior year in high school, I formulated 2 goals. I wanted to go to medical school, and I wanted to be a doctor, not necessarily a surgeon, but a doctor, and I was going to work hard to be a good one. My uncle had a horse named Neverbend. He trained for the Guggenheim family, that you probably have heard of. Some of them, and they've done a lot of interesting things in America and whatnot. Had trained a horse named Neverbend. He got beat about this much in the Kentucky Derby. It looked like he was going to win it. He'd been a champion 2-year-old the year before, and I said, you know, one of these days I'm going to own one of those horses and all. So one of the things that I thought as well, if to Phil's point and to the punter's point, you know, it's one thing to dream, but so you better work at it if you're going to be successful. So I started trying to learn about horses. I learned how to groom horses, wanted to do it myself. Learned how to not be afraid of horses. Or, you know, they weigh 1,000 pounds or more, and that's something. I studied bloodlines, and I graduated from college in 3 years and studying bloodlines while you're trying to do that and go to medical school is hard, but I did it. Pedigrees, I can name pedigrees back 15 and 20 generations on famous horses. I began to read about breeding and racing and those kind of things and whatnot. So this is what I call the be stupid versus take a chance kind of thing. I was 29. I was a chief resident. I had no money. I mean, we had no money. But I had a very tolerant wife and whatnot. So I came home one day and I said, you know, I know we don't have any money, and we're trying to go to Louisville. We were still in Texas at the time, and I said, but you know, I've got an opportunity to buy into a racehorse. And she looked at me and she said, do you really think that's a good idea? And I said, well, of course it's not a good idea, but I just still sort of like to do it. And she said, well, I'm not working now. If you think you can make this go, just go. I don't think she thought I would do it, but I did. And interestingly, it actually worked out. It turned out to be a pretty successful racehorse, what's called a brood mare, a good mother, and whatnot. Came to Louisville, and within 3 years in practice, I owned 6 horses. Owned a couple of them with Dr. Hiram Polk, who many of you have heard of. And by 5 years, I owned 12. I own about 40 now. So you end up saying, well, you're going to do this as a hobby, and if you do, God bless you. And it's what Philip says, this is tough. Anything that eats gets expensive because you always end up paying for the eating end. And owning horses gets very, very expensive, and certainly I was never wealthy. So I developed a business plan where I wanted to breed horses and sell young ones, just like Phil was talking about, to underwrite racing and stock acquisitions and other part of the thing, so whatnot. And I remember saying, I'd actually say go strong or go home. Years ago before now, everybody talks about that. So I had some early success. I had a passion for horses and all that I didn't think was ever going to leave. So what I decided to do was actually double down and get bigger and whatnot. But I will say I never borrowed another dollar after that first one. And so the business always had to be self-sustaining and self-fulfilling in order to do it. So I'm totally engaged, still am, always have been. I've done this now for over 40 years. I plan all the breedings myself. I don't pay anybody to do that. I've looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of young horses through the years. Handicap and bet on horses. It's the only gambling I ever do, and I used to be pretty good at it. Philip and I, we go to the Derby together every year, and we've actually every now and then done all right. I go to watch early morning trainings. I get to know the grooms and the people who take care of horses and all aspects of it. I've helped with deliveries of babies. I've pulled when I was young and could still do it, a fair number of foals, we call them, or young horses out of their mamas. So my goal's always been to master every facet of the sport or the business, and all within my resources. So how's it work? Well, I've owned horses continuously for over 40 years. I've owned over 1,000 horses. I've sold a good many of those, obviously, to try to make things. I've bred the winners of over 1,000 races. I've won about 500 races as an owner, won one last Friday night. I've not gotten rich, but I ain't broke yet either, so whatnot. So to me, one of the things that in life, and we've got a few young people there, you got to have something to dream about. I mean, boy, if all you do is work, and I love my work. I love surgery, but it's so every time you have a foal, you think, boy, this could be the one, That's my Derby winner there, my Breeders' Cup winner. And they say no man with a good yearling ever committed suicide. You always got something to look forward to. I've met tons of interesting people with a shared passion and shared dreams. I bought a couple of horses actually for the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum. That's an interesting experience when you get to do that kind of thing. So this is a foal born 2.5 weeks ago. He's a grand-looking little guy. This is about 8 hours after he was born. He's out there frolicking with his mama. And if you're in Kentucky in the spring and you don't like to see young horses run, there's something wrong with you. It doesn't matter whether you like horses or anything else. If you don't get enjoyment out of what God gives you there, then there's something wrong with you. Racing can also keep you very, very humble because you're always going to lose more than you win. Isn't it like basketball where there are two teams playing? You got 8 and 10 and 12 and 14 horses running and all. Defeats can be cruel. I'm going to show you one in a minute. Horses, like people, can die. Things happen. They just don't work out. But boy, the occasional of a big win is an amazing, amazing high. It's like seeing your kids do something good. Could we play the thing and see if this is going to play? So this is the thing. Can you hold 1 second? So let me tell you this story. Oop, can you hold it? Hold, stop. So I bought a mare at a sale in January, and snow was up over my knees, and I was stomping around out there, and to buy a brood mare. In other words, something was going to, produce a young horse. Then it was a part of a syndicate that bought the daddy. I actually went out and helped pull this foal out of the mare, and then Dr. Polk and I actually owned her together. She was clearly the best racehorse in the Midwest. Kentucky, Arkansas, Illinois, she'd beaten them all. And so we decided we were going to go take on the big boys. We were going to go to New York, to Saratoga. And the best horse racing in America at that time was a gray filly named Lady's Secret. She was owned by a guy named Gene Klein, who owned the San Diego Chargers football team. And there were 4 billionaires that had horses in that race and whatnot. So here were a bunch of hayseeds up there. My horse went off at 40-1. So that means if you bet $2, you'd win, 100 or, high in the high 80s, kind of thing. And so I decided to take a big hold that day, and I bet good. And I also bet what's called an exacta with a horse named Lady's Secret, who, as I say, was the big favorite here. Can we play it now? That's her, the gray on the lead.
Now puts ahead in front, Lady's Secret on the inside, second by 3, then Dowry, Mrs. Revere.
That's
on the
me.
Inside, Solar Halo. They pass the 8th pole. Lady's Secret now comes on to take the lead by a neck. Majestic Folly back into second on the outside. Mrs. Revere moving up. Mrs. Revere alongside Lady's Secret. Those two race to the wire. Lady's Secret on the inside, in front.
Lady's Secret comes back 8 days after her triumph in the test.
So I got beat a nose. It'd been nice if I'd have won. Now, I got $50,000 for running second, and that wasn't bad in the 80s. I'd have got $150 for winning. I won $40,000 betting that day. If I had won the race, I'd have won $250,000 on betting. And that, Uncle Sam, don't take any part of that if you do it right. So my wife had a little purse, and she had all her makeup in it, and I said, honey, I need you to throw your makeup away. She said, I just got this. I said, just please throw your makeup. So she threw all her makeup away, and I filled up her purse with rolls of $100 bills. And so, but I went home bitching the whole night because I get beat a nose and that kind of thing. So finally, my wife passed away a couple of years ago, and you know, she was probably the only one that could ever keep me in line. She, talk about intimate partner abuse, she slapped the snot out of me and just said, what are you talking about? She said, you just ran second to this Lady's Secret ended up being the horse of the year, best horse in America that year and whatnot. I will say we tried her twice more. We were second to her both times. So truth of it was she was just better than we were. So what are the life lessons I've learned? I think you need to do something outside of work that you love and pursue it with a passion. Embrace multiple aspects of your passion, and I've tried, as Punter talked about, use the skills that made you a master surgeon. You know, just learn and study and think about different things, and I think you prepare for a life beyond medicine. I have great doctor friends, but like Phil said, I probably have more horse friends, or as many as I have doctor friends. I've been very involved in horse politics. I actually was just appointed as the chairman of the Kentucky State Racing Commission. I'm chairman of a thing called Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders of America, which is a national organization for people that breed and race horses. And I will say that my credibility, I mean, you know, if you were just a schlock surgeon, it might not work that way, but if you're a pretty good doctor and you've got something else, it's interesting how that all can sort of work for you. And outside activities often open the doors that can help you make your real job better. I've been on a first name basis with at least our last 4 governors in Kentucky. And when I had a problem with my trauma service a couple of years ago, went and talked to one of them, and it got fixed like that. And sometimes those things can help you. One of the things that really, for the young people, just pisses me off, frankly, is when I hear people say, well, I love my wife. You know, I didn't want to work like you did and whatnot. I've written over 400 papers or book chapters, and I've had a lot of academic recognitions. I had a huge surgical practice, and frankly, I don't mean to be immodest, but I was a pretty good surgeon, I think. But I'm also regarded in the horse world as an expert in that area, like Phil talked about as well. My late wife I love dearly. I think she was ill for quite a few years. I think I was about as good a husband as I could have been. I'm pathologically close to my children. We talk all the time. I mean, it's just, you know, so bottom line is, you know, nobody gets everything in life. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. But I do think it's possible to have a life balance with a passion besides work and be dedicated to your craft and your patience. And we ought not let life balance be an excuse for not being a good doctor and not being committed to that part of what we do. Thank you all so much, and God bless.